at the time I launched this business, I had branding, I had domains, I had collateral, I had everything. Imagine having to change the name of your business. Imagine having to change AdBeacon to something else, right? Imagine having to change Foundr right now to something else, right? It would be catastrophic.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Fail with Fire. I am your podcast host, Phoenix Ha, CEO and co-founder of my favorite first-party data attribution optimization platform. Today, we have a very special guest. I am so excited to introduce you to Nathan Chan. Nathan, say hi.
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me, Phoenix. Pleasure to be here.
Oh my gosh, it's an honor to have you. Just for people who don't know who Nathan is, I'm going to do the official bio, but I'm also going to give you that informal bio as we do here at Fail with Fire. But this is a very exciting episode, at least for me. And I'll go ahead and just get started. But Nathan, from the idea and bootstrap startup to becoming a leading entrepreneurial resource serving millions, Nathan Chan, the CEO of Foundr, is a visionary entrepreneur with a profound passion for entrepreneurship and connecting with people. He established Foundr, a globally recognized media and education company that delivers exceptional content through magazines, books, and online courses, one of which I'm a part of, all aimed at empowering aspiring entrepreneurs. Under Nathan's leadership, Foundr has reached millions of people each month, becoming a touchstone in the entrepreneurial world. The magazine, a standout feature of Foundr, has been graced by likes of Richard Branson, Arianna Huffington, Mark Cuban, Jack Dorsey, and many other influential figures. This is Nathan Chan. But on the informal side, I was blessed with the opportunity to be a part of the Foundr community in the educational space with it was the Facebook 2.0 or the Meta, 2.0 version of the course. Every single time someone asks me, do you have a course? I go, just go to Foundr. I really felt I actually myself have been in the Foundr, I would say, portal and have seen such a profound library of resources when it comes to anything, whether it be Amazon or Meta, all these different things. And I think you've created something absolutely beautiful. And then I got to know Nathan on a more personal level here and there. And it's just an honor to know you and to have you here. So Nathan, welcome to the podcast.
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you so much for the kind words, Phoenix. And it's been an honor to get to know you and to have you give back to our community.
Easy. It's easy. I think when people align and it just makes sense, the synergies they just work very easily. Every person I've connected with on the Foundr side, and mind you, if you're looking at the YouTube version or if you're on Spotify and watching, you see all the cool magazine covers behind Nathan, but behind me is the Foundr book. And every person I have interacted with at Foundr, aside from Nathan, has been kind, such a resource and really great. So working with your team has just been a dream. So you've fostered that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, look, I am very blessed and humbled to have an incredible team. And at this point in time, I'm just a person that comes up with crazy ideas. And then I've got an amazing team to do their best to make it happen, to bring things to life, but then also really kind of temper my ambitions and expectations and speed and all these different things. But yeah, it's been a wild journey.
What a beautiful position to be in, that you can just be the crazy person that comes up with the ideas and you don't have to well, maybe you do, right? But execute to a certain extent. But that being said, I always like to start the podcast off with this question. So if we were at a barbecue and your partner or a family member or Miriam comes and grabs me and goes, Phoenix, you need to meet Nathan, how would that person introduce you? What would they say that you do for your work? What would they say to me?
Yeah, so people in my family always struggle to articulate what I do, but they would say something along the lines of, so Nathan interviews a lot of super successful entrepreneurs and he has a platform or a podcast or a magazine that really helps people start and grow businesses.
That's actually that would be impressive to be. I always joke around. My mom always goes, I don't know what she does, something with Facebook. Like every once in a while, she's like, I can't log into Facebook. What's my password? She assumes that that's my job. So the fact that they could articulate it potentially to that degree is great, which means you've trained them well.
Yes, yeah, yeah. So that's probably the more solid version. But yeah, they would say, does something to do with the internet, similar to you.
Presses buttons and makes some money. I'm just proud of him that he exists, kind of thing.
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, this podcast is so near and dear to so many of our hearts as we start to invite industry leaders that are very much handpicked, because I think it's one thing to be quote unquote successful, whatever success means to a certain person. I think it's another level to be a good person, good human.
Yeah, I agree.
And that is a prerequisite to have a mic here, because as much as success is earned, I think anybody can achieve success with the right mindset, but it's also such a beautiful thing to be at a level and a caliber that you are of a person. Like, you were humbly thanking your team for where you are at, where Foundr is at. And some people don't do that. And that's why I was like, you know what? Having Nathan on this podcast is just going to be such a beautiful conversation for those who are coming up in the space, who are grinding, even at the top, just some encouragement. And at least in my story, which I've shared many times, there's been so many quote unquote failures. And failures could be moments where I'm on the floor crying, going we're not going to make it.
Mm.
And failures could be just little small mistakes we make every day. But often these are the catalysts to changing the DNA of who we are, to becoming better leaders and better versions of ourselves. So I want to open up the floor to you, Nathan. What is potentially, or not even potentially, what is a failure you've experienced that kind of did this for you that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, so I love the angle of this, because and where you're going with your show and the content and the stories that you want to tell, because failures are not talked about enough. Like, you look at things like the rich list and you look at even the front covers of Foundr behind me, people look up at these super successful entrepreneurs, and we don't hear enough about the struggles, the battles, the sacrifices that people have made to get to where they are. And in every single successful founder story, they have many, 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 many failures. And I've had quite a few. And the one that I want to share, which is probably the most relatable for people, is when I got sued. So when Foundr was not called Foundr, it was called Key to Success magazine. And in the first 4 months of starting Foundr, we were sued by Success magazine for trademark infringement. So the logo was actually just like Success, but then Key 2 in the middle. And we did it, I think it was issue number 3 or the 3rd or 4th edition. It had Neil Patel, and it was a photo of Neil Patel blown up with his head actually covering the Key 2 part. So it looked like Success. And because back in the day, App Store SEO, Foundr was just a digital magazine on the App Store. I gamified the App Store. So when people search for Success magazine, Entrepreneur magazine, Forbes, Fast Company, or Inc., Foundr came up. And so they jumped on it. Didn't take long. We got a cease. I was served. Literally within, I'd say, a few weeks. And I got a FedEx package in the mail saying I need to appear in court in Dallas, Texas. Never been to America in my life. Was 24, so about 11 years ago. And yeah, it was a pretty big thing for me, because I started this magazine, didn't have any money, was just doing it for fun. And you think when that was my first foray into business, that if you're getting sued, that you're going to go bankrupt. And I was really stressed and didn't know what was going to happen. And I had to change the name to Foundr. Now, why that story is really special and important is because at the time, I launched this business. I had branding, I had domains, I had collateral, I had everything. Imagine having to change the name of your business. Imagine having to change AdBeacon to something else, right? Imagine having to change Foundr right now to something else, right? It would be catastrophic. Um, so there were so many blessings on the other side. It was one of the biggest blessings in disguise because not only did I have a better name, I rebranded, and it was the best thing that could ever happen because Foundr's such a better name.
It is.
So that's just one of many failures, but it's one that's relatable, I think, to many because I think a lot of people have the longer you are spending time and building your business, the more you come up against these legal kind of challenges.
It's so funny. I didn't know this, by the way. That's insane. I did not know you were sued, especially at 24. Like 24, I was an idiot, like in life, let alone in business. So, I had, I was served at 24. I wasn't sued. It was a completely different scenario. And I broke down in tears. Like I felt so personally offended. The idea of a lawsuit, the idea of, I was deposed. So it was a kind of a different situation. But like, I would love to just see your mind or hear your mindset at 24, getting this, especially never have been to the US, getting this and understanding the weight and I would say the stereotype of being sued. Where was your head at?
Oh, I was like so afraid, scared, nervous. Oh, I didn't really have a network as well, right? Like the entrepreneurial networks now are so much bigger and it feels like, or not feels, these days you either in your networks have a friend that is working on something or a friend of a friend. People all around you, doesn't matter where you are, what country, what city, people are working on things like building an online business or using the power of the internet to create. Like being a creator or an influencer wasn't even a thing back then, right? So, um, like I didn't have a network. I had to build my network from scratch. My dad was a teacher. My mum was a nurse. So no family members were entrepreneurial. And then there was this one guy that I met who was a friend of a friend. Um, and I, had to message him like 5 times to catch up with me. And I showed him the magazine and he was just like, oh yeah. He's like, I don't think this is a good idea. I think you should just sell advertising, all these kinds of things. And anyways, I called him up and I said, what do I do? And he was just like, man, what are you so afraid of? And I said, oh, well, I might go bankrupt. And he's like, well, do you have any money? And I was like, no. And then he's like, well, what do you got nothing to worry about then? And like, I was just like, oh my God, like this is crazy. And then, I started Foundr on the side, so I didn't even know it would go anywhere. I really didn't, Phoenix. I was taking the first few editions of the magazine on the iPad to job interviews. In fact, I reconnected with somebody recently who helped organize the interview with the founders of 8 Sleep and also Whoop. She's like, you know, uh, works in PR now, but she remembers me from like 12 years ago when I went for a job interview at this company called ASOP.
Yeah.
I went for a marketing gig. She's like, she remembers me and Foundr and taking the magazine. I didn't get the job. Like that's how, like, so like not, I was thinking like most people, when they start a business, they start it with this idea of, freedom and building their own thing and making all this money. For me, it was more about like the biggest calling was how do I find work that I'm passionate about? Like, cause life is too short to not do work that you don't enjoy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, um, I had that one guy who was a mentor that I'd met a couple of times and he was like, it's going to be fine. And then at the company that I worked at, I befriended the CEO of that company, incredible company called Intrepid Travel, one of the largest travel companies adventure travel companies in the world based out of Melbourne, like head HQ in Melbourne, founded out of Melbourne. I befriended him and told him what happened, and then he pointed me to their COO, who used to be a lawyer, and he helped me work through it, which was just a true testament to the quality of the humans. You talk about like good people, like a true testament to the kind of people and the environment that I was in. Like that was an amazing company. I have nothing but good things to share about Intrepid Travel. Amazing company, amazing exec team, amazing founders, like just good people. And he helped me through it, and we changed the name, and they got a win. But yeah, what was going through my mind was a lot of anxiety, a lot of catastrophizing, a lot of fear, a lot of fear or feeling of unknown and helplessness. Um, and it was a really scary time for me, Phoenix, because I didn't know what I was doing. I truly didn't. And all I was trying to do was create this magazine just for fun to maybe get a job in marketing.
There are so many really, first and foremost, like, thank you for being so honest. Because sometimes we have these conversations, and even if I'm friends with the guests that are coming on, and we like shoot it back and forth, not recorded. When we put it on recording, people aren't as vulnerable, and it felt like you're being so honest. So I appreciate that because I think that only helps anyone who's listening, A, but also B, the fear is real. Sometimes I like to set us back in that headspace. Like I remember distinctly only having like $5 in my bank account. And like I'm a Christian, so for me, like I'm praying. Like, I have $15 worth of like I have to pay for my internship to get this parking spot. So if I don't do well in this internship, I won't have a career, right? These things that we catastrophize, even though like now looking back, I'm like, it's such a small thing, but at the time that's my life. And then provision comes and blessings come and thank God. But the feeling, I like to sit back in that feeling now that I have far more in my bank account and be grateful for where I am and where you are with Foundr. Like you've got a great name, way better than the name that you had before, no offense. Or maybe all the offense. And secondarily too, I just think that being so grateful for the people that helped you is so funny. Like it's a humbling situation where in times of need, someone stepped up and you'll never forget that.
Yeah.
And for you to be that resource to someone else down the road.
Yeah. And it just shows to the quality of the people that he was this guy worried about his other little business that had nothing to do with their business, taking up their time. And this is like a company that turns over hundreds of millions of dollars. To take time to actually help me is amazing, right? And that really, really, really helped me. And there's been moments of serendipity where, one of my mentors, he says to me, like sometimes I say like, oh, it's such a crazy coincidence. And he's like, Nathan, there are no coincidences. Like, these things happen, right? And I think sometimes in your early stages or even your later stages or mature stages of building your business, you find that you have these twists and turns, and at the time it feels so scary and it feels so not what you had planned, right? Because it's so easy to create these grandiose plans. Like I'm literally, before I got on catching up with you, I was writing all these plans for 2025, all the things we need to accomplish, do, bang, bang, bangs. And then I started to go, okay, what were my plans for 2024? I was like, yeah, we've hit a lot of them. But like you always just plan things and they never go exactly how you planned. And you just have to lean into it, because if you just keep going and keep moving forward, it will work itself out, no matter even if it is in that business, right? No matter if it is in that product or that marketing campaign, it will work itself out, but you just have to keep moving forward.
I love that. There's this saying, first and foremost, I believe exactly what you believe. Or do you believe that is that there are no coincidences? You're quoting someone else. Do you believe that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'm the same way. And also too, I'm a firm believer of what is for you is truly for you, and what is not for you is truly not for you.
Yes.
So you could hold on to this concept that your old name, for example, with the magazine was the money ticket for the rest of your life. And you could force it and force it. But in reality, there's something much bigger for you in the end. So if it fell through, maybe it's because it was never meant to be yours. It was never yours to begin with. And I was modeling for many, many years. I thought that was my plan. I forced it, didn't work out. And at one point in time for me, I let go. I'm still letting go. I might not be in this field 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I might be doing something completely different, but it will all work itself out in the end. And as long as you have a passion for what you're doing, like you said, life is too short to not do things that you enjoy. That's all it is. If you have a pure heart, it will guide you in the right direction and point you in that, and it'll all work out. I think that's such a beautiful, beautiful takeaway from that. And again, not forgetting the deafening, terrible feeling on the inside of when you get served, right? And then you're like, okay. And there's also this concept too, Nathan, and I wonder if you feel this way moving forward. Now you're much more mature in your business, right? And probably your mindset, this idea of callous. Like you're constantly getting more callous over time with all the things that you go through. So then when you go through the bigger things, I went through that. It'll be fine because I can get through this too. Is that how you feel now?
Yeah, look, it's funny. You still go through challenges and you still have problems. I was reading something the other day. Someone was talking about business problems, right? You're still gonna constantly have business problems. What happened to me was a business problem, right? Um, the thing is now for me, it's bigger problems, more dollars attached behind them. But I also am blessed and humbled to have an amazing team that can help me solve those problems, or I can solve those problems, or an amazing network. So, but I still do, yeah, I still do sometimes freak out, and yeah, I'm trying as time goes on to really, really, really focus on that emotional maturity to really keep moving forward, because that's the key. If you keep getting thrown off center, it only slows you down, right? So to be honest with you, Phoenix, yeah, there are still some like really, really tough times. Like there was another failure, I don't know if a failure, definitely. Um, there's one time, iOS 14, we started to see our performance degrade, and yeah, like literally 1 month, we lost $500,000 in a month. Like net loss.
I'm laughing, but I'm not laughing. I'm laughing because this is why I have a career, and it's just so comical at this point because it was such a terrible thing. I lost 40% of my book of business, and like probably equivalent to what you lost net. Like that's insane. So I'm not trying to laugh, but like I get it. Keep going, please.
Yeah. So like it was $500,000 in 1 month. I've never talked about this publicly, right? So um, these things just happen. And at the time, like this was only a few years ago, right? So you asked me like, have I gotten stronger? Like at the time I was crying in the corner. Like luckily we had a decent balance sheet, but like I was crying in the corner, like, not literally crying, but like it was tough. I was like, what the fuck? Like, like, and we had to reinvent the whole business, right? And reinvent our whole model, right? And we had to really look at everything. So yeah, these things still happen. It's just a rite of passage, to and to keep growing, right? Like, and it depends on the person. Not everybody wants to build a big business. There's a big movement now of the one person business, the $1 million a year one person business, and they don't have any stress. And it's a pure cash flow based business. And it just depends what you're optimizing for, and it depends what you're going for. For me, my vision for Founder is quite audacious. Like I want us to be the global leader, a global leading brand known in this space that supports and creates entrepreneurs. So we want to build a business that's 10 times, 50 times the size of what we are right now. And that's going to take time. And, one of my mentors, another mentor once said to me, right, you know what, Nathan, like if you aren't experiencing really big challenges like one that I just shared or a few that I've just shared with you, you probably ain't pushing hard enough. And that's there's something about that, right? Because if you do want to build a product or a service that has true worth and significance, that really impacts a lot of people at scale, then you do have to push hard, right? Does that mean you make silly mistakes? No. But yeah, you do, and you do whatever you can to avoid those mistakes. But if you keep going long enough, these things happen. And it's a really, really crazy thing.
Well, I think you can achieve that. I don't think that's that audacious. I think you can achieve that no problem, especially with what you've done thus far. But yeah, it's interesting that you said that. Like, so with AdBeacon, we have a very slim team. We only have across everything on dev to me to every 6 people.
Mm.
And often I almost get scoffed at because the SaaS thing to do is to raise a bunch of funding and then dangle the carrot and then hope to God one day you'll be profitable.
Mm.
And I just didn't feel like that made sense. Maybe it was just like this short circuit in my brain of why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just go for profitability and scale kind of consistently and also work out the quirks? And then when you get to a point that you do scale, you scale to a point where it's sustainable and has retention. And luckily, you know, and by the grace of God, within 2 years, we are profitable. Like, I've never heard of a SaaS platform that able to do that, and I'm proud of it. But then there's always the other side of this growth. This is why this podcast exists, right? There's not one way to scale a business. There's not one way to be an entrepreneur, and there's not one way to run a business. In general, you don't have to be this crazy scaling business. Actually, have you heard of this brand called Dad Gang?
No.
Oh my gosh, they're taking over. It's just unreal. And I spoke with Bart. He's one of the 3 founders, co-founders of this brand, and he was on our podcast as well. And he's like, I don't want to scale. I don't feel the need to scale. So he does all of his ads in Canva. He does everything himself. He does the media buying, and they've grown organically for the most part. Yeah, they do ads, but it's not like this aggressive SKU scale that everybody is doing. It's consistent, and they're profitable, and they're doing extremely well. And that inspires me, right? And the way that you're speaking to entrepreneurship and all that, that actually inspires me more than this bravado on Twitter or wherever that I've made X amount of money. Here's my screenshot, see me roar, which are all great things as well. But there are other ways to do it. And yeah.
Yeah, I agree. There are definitely other ways to do it. It just comes down to what you have that yearning and calling for, and you know, the vision for what you want to build, for not only for you but your life. And yeah, for me, maybe one day I will want to build a different business with a different intention. I don't know, but for now, um yeah, it's a crazy journey, and I just want to keep growing personally and professionally.
I love that. So this is a new question, but when shit hits the fan, what kind of leader are you? Are you a screamer? Are you a thrower? Are you calm and quiet? You seem calm and quiet, but like truthfully, what kind of leader are you?
Yeah, so I'm the one that's calm and quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I I know that I'll be okay, and I've got this, and I just work through it. But I'm inside a little bit like, ooh, is this me? But like, yeah, I want to show up in a way that um doesn't promote fear.
Mm.
And I think that's really important. Now, have I done that all the time? No, I haven't. But no, I've never shown up in a way where people think I'm like freaking out, like crazy. No, never. People might say I'm a bit stressed. Numbers aren't where they need to be. Well, we want them to be, or on budget. But no, I want to be a calm and calculated leader always.
Ugh, so refreshing. You know, I'm 31. I don't know how you kind of alluded to how old you are. I won't out you. See if we can do their own math.
Oh,
It's
37.
37. So we're kind of within the same range somewhat. And back in the day, like I'm Chinese, so I watched my mom. My mom's an entrepreneur, and my whole life, my whole family, they're all entrepreneurs. They came to this country from Vietnam. I'm Chinese, but they were born in Vietnam, and they all made their way as refugees here. And I always learned business from them. This is not a knock on you, Mom. Love you if you're listening. But she was a yeller. The type of leader she was a yeller. And it was back in the day when customer service wasn't a thing. Like the customer was always right mentality. So she would just yell and she would get her way. And I made the biggest mistake as a leader is I thought that's how you led. And the mentors I had growing up were the ones that were yellers and throwers. And that's why I like to ask this question, because now I'm at a different phase in my life. I'm not a yeller. I'm not a thrower. I'm not any of those things. I'm pretty calm and collected like you are. If anything, I pace my pool pretty quickly. I'm a pacer. But I ask this question because you start to see how people work. And I think this is also important for other entrepreneurs that are in the young stage to hear that you don't have to do that. You don't have to freak out and lead with fear. Some people even believe that leading a team with fear is the only way to get a result. That's not necessarily true either. So I thought it was really refreshing what you said.
Yeah, yeah. No, look, I've been pretty big on leadership these days because what I've found is as your business grows, there's only so much you can do. Like if it's not growing, that's a reflection on you, the CEO, the founder or founders of your own professional growth. Like often you, if not always, is the bottleneck. Like you're the bottleneck and you're the constraint. So when your business gets to a certain size, you need to be able to lead through people, right? Because you just can't do everything. You need to scale through people. And that doesn't necessarily mean you need more people. And it also depends on the business, but it depends, there's levels, right? To growth when it comes to any business. There's playbooks. People write about them all the time. And so I've become very, very interested how to lead through people, how to motivate through people, how to inspire people. And I think that's really, really, really important. It's something I'm still continuing to work on, and I have definitely not mastered, but it's something I'm very, very interested in. And I'm also interested in as well on this idea I've been thinking about a lot around really getting to know yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, and doubling down on your strengths and not trying to level up your weaknesses, and then finding great people that complement your weaknesses. And it obviously depends as well if you're a solo founder versus you have co-founders, right? There's the hiring and all of that in between, right? So you said you have a co-founder, right? I assume a technical co-founder, right?
I have two co-founders. We're three, and one is a technical co-founder. One owns an ad agency, and they are far older than I am too, and constantly in conflict, but the most beautiful conflict because, and I think you're alluding to this, so I'll shut up, but yes, we have two co-founders. Well, we're three in total.
Yes. Yeah, there you go. So for it to work, you have to have highly complementary skills. But if you're a solo founder, it's only natural that there are some shortcomings. So like one of my shortcomings is I'm not the strongest on leading through people and when it comes to execution, right? I'm a strong executor as Nathan, and you want me to work on creating $1 million product. I can create an e-com. I can do that. I can create $1 million e-com product, just me. I can do, like digital, like all, I can do it all. Service work. I've done most of the models now through Foundr or not through Foundr. And I can do that just Nathan. But if I want to create an 8-figure or multiple 8-figure, that's where like I can get there, but it's a grind and rubber hits the road, and I'm looking for leverage. And that's where, if I was to start again, I wanted to create a SaaS product, I would get a technical co-founder, someone that's highly complementary, someone that's a little bit like much more technology and product focused. And then also I would find a really strong operational leader, a strong operational execution people leader, right? And that's the things I have now. but it's taken me a while to work these things out, that you need to double down on your strengths, and then, you find people to complement you and your weaknesses. And I think that's a big part of leadership too, knowing what your strengths are, knowing uh, what other people's strengths are, and identifying that, and having that amazing, beautiful synergy as well. And I think finding out what motivates people and lining it up to what your goals are for the business.
Well, I love that because that actually leads us into the last portion, which is hot takes. And this is my hot take from what you just said, because I don't know if anyone's really noticed this, but often when you get to a certain point or you look at specific leaders, almost the bro nature, is they start to build, they build, they build. And then once they hit the level that they want to, it's all about self growth. They go to Burning Man. They do the self with stuff. They go and get some shaman to help them identify who they are. Ice baths. Sorry, I'm not calling you. Just like all this, they really go back into their physical and mental health. They start to channel themselves again. So this is kind of just an echo from what I've observed to people who are listening, is it all comes back full circle to getting to know yourself, so then you can be a better leader, to better identify your strengths and understand your weaknesses, to hand off the weaknesses to somebody who's stronger. It's the same thing with a relationship, right? Your partner shouldn't be your identical twin, in my opinion. Your partner should be the ones that are strong in the areas you are weak, and vice versa. So then you're building this mega team to be able to handle whatever comes your way. When, my partner, so I'll just use my husband as an example. When I'm freaking out, he's calm. And when he's freaking out, I'm calm. So that at one point in time, somebody's got somebody's back, right? But I have noticed this. So my hot take is, it's sometimes better to know who you are before you decide to tell people how to build a business and tell people how to live their lives, when in reality, you can't look yourself in the mirror and understand who you are. That's my hot take in this space, because often I get to the point where I get to have these conversations with leaders and you can tell they don't know. And then they have to go through this whole rinse repeat cycle, which is again fine, but you could have just cut through the BS and just to the point. So what's your hot take?
Yeah, no, I agree. And so it's funny, you did describe me, because I went real hard on Foundr for like 6, 7 years. There was no off switch. It felt like everything I touched turned to gold. Um, Incredible growth, like all these different things. And went through COVID. COVID was a wild ride. And then I started waking up in the middle of the night with my heart beating really fast. And I was like, why am I feeling this way? Business is good. Things are growing. Everything's amazing. And I started to experience this crippling anxiety. And I didn't want to go to work. And things weren't right. And what I recognized was that I was burnt out, like deeply burnt out. And I think sometimes that's what happens to leaders. You keep going, you keep going, you keep going, and you don't realize that you don't. You need to practice self-care. And so for me, ever since, I'm a pretty big fan of self-care, because that's how you go to another level, right? Because I obviously capped out, and if I just couldn't operate. Like, I was doing so much, it was insane. And so I think, fortunately or unfortunately, it is a rite of passage that you just have to work out the hard way, because it has to be an obsession, right? To build anything of true worth and significance, it has to be an obsession. Like, I was speaking to someone in our community, in the Foundr community. They launched their brand. It's an amazing brand, right? Really just focusing the product focusing on a clear problem in the market. They've got really strong, unique differentiators, great brand, right? But they're not getting the sales, and it's just not coming. It's not where they thought. And it's only been like a couple months since they launched, and it doesn't matter how good your product is, you got to get that flywheel going. And this person is just throwing everything around. I do a post here on TikTok. I do a post here on Instagram. I tried some Facebook. I did all these different things, but like nothing is sticking. And I said, you need to choose one channel, one focus. You need to look at the content, and you need to be a master of content creation. If you don't want to spend money on paid, that's okay. You can't afford to, whatever. Focus on mastering content creation. And I promise you, and I went deep. I did this research, just out of curiosity, like on the market, all the competitors. And I'm like, look at these, look at these brands. They are massive $100 million a year brands. So it's not that there isn't a market for this product. It's you just got to get closer to the customer. You've got to get better at content creation, and it needs to be an obsession. You need to take all of your energy, because she's like, Nathan, I'm like doing 7-hour days, and I'm doing this and doing that. I'm like, we need to take all of that energy and focus on one thing of getting it really, really right. Like, we all know that there's a market here. We all know that this is a product that people want to buy because the other brands are selling it at large scales. So you need to just do the hard yards and work it out. It has to be an obsession. And so coming back, I guess a bit of a hot take for me is just like, yes, I agree with you. That does seem to be a theme for guys. I don't know what it is, especially solo founders. I find it, solo founders. So see that through line where they're doing everything. They probably need some better support around them. They need to elevate as a leader, but they need to practice that self-care, because otherwise, they're burnt out. They've realized, like what I realized, you can have all the success in the world, all the money in your bank, all these different things, but you don't have anything. That is all worthless if you don't have your mental health. I didn't want to go to work. Like, this is me. I didn't like, even me saying that, that's weird, right? Why can I not want to go to work? Like life is too short to not do work you enjoy, right? But I didn't want to go to work. So I think it has to be an obsession, and that obsession, you've got to find a way to temper it. You've got to find a way to have these disciplines to practice that self-care and practice being present in other areas of your life, because it's a scale, right? You've got family, you've got your relationship, you've got friends, and then you've got work and career. And it's a constant balance of feeding them all as evenly. And nobody is feeding them all evenly. What you'll find in life is you might be really feeding the work one, and then that might take that means your relationship or family might take a hit, but then you recognize that, and you balance that scale again. And that's what I find that I found in the journey.
Not my toxic trait in all of what you just said, and me going, "Oh, only 7-hour days. Like, this is terrible." I'm like, oh man. But you're right. Like, there's this, I think there's like this through line of obsession and like obsessive nature in the same way. It's almost like you focus on something, and then you come up for air, and you're like, oh my gosh, my mental health, my physical health, my everything. And sometimes solopreneurs, to your point, I feel like they come up for air at a later time. With co-founders, they're able to bounce things back together. I think that also the one thing I'll add on to what you said is give yourself some grace. Like, you're not going to be able to do everything. And you're going to start to get to a point where you're like, I'm not a good friend. I'm not a good father. I'm not a good mother. I'm not a good sister, daughter, whatever. Because you put everything into a business, which is like, in your mind, everything you wanted to build to begin with. You wanted to have a career and build maybe generational wealth, whatever the purpose was. And then you get there and you're like, but now I'm not happy. I'm not here. And I didn't notice that. And it's not just men. So hopefully, like this, for me, like I gained, I think, 25 pounds in 2-3 years. And this is somebody who is a model that was obsessed and that was working out twice a day. And then I gained this weight, and it was a really hard thing mentally and physically, because I just wasn't in the best state of mind structurally. And then I had to wake up and decide, no, I'm going to prioritize my relationship. So last year, 2024 was dedicated to love, which sounds so lame, but it's so true. And I got married and I got my physical health back on track. And then we finally were profitable. So I think it really is funny is maybe we could take a shortcut, guys. So you could hear this is grinding is awesome. It is hard. It is terrifying, but it's also so rewarding when you take a step back and set boundaries for yourself. And I've seen you, by the way, Nathan, like you've been on this crazy journey. I've just been watching from the sidelines and it seems like you're happier. It seems like you're doing really well. So I'm really happy for you. It's wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, look, I had to push things to an extreme to get to where I am. And like I said, it's a balance. Like, you know, it's just this constant balance and you can never get it right. And I think it's refreshing knowing that. It's comforting knowing that because sometimes you just kind of like, oh, I want this, and you want that. And you tell yourself like the biggest fallacy that you tell yourself is when I get to this, then things will be amazing. That is the biggest fallacy because it is never enough, right? Like I never forget, I asked Steve Huffman, one of the co-founders of Reddit, he co-founded Reddit, and I said, you have created one of the top 10 most visited websites in the world. It is the largest public forum in the world, one of. Like in terms of impact and creating a product of true significance, you know, like that's pretty special. Is it ever enough? And he said no. Right? And so I think that's one of the biggest things, one of the biggest lies and tricks you tell yourself and your mind tells yourself. We all, like anyone listening to this, hearing it, you're catching yourself right now. You're like, yeah, oh my God, Nathan, yes, I get it. Oh my God, you've reminded me because we're all telling ourselves that when we hit this, it'll be like this.
No, because then you're going to tell yourself a lie. Well, if I've hit this, what else could I hit? I haven't reached my fullest potential. There's always the bigger and better mentality. You nailed it so well. I will just round this out because for the sake of time, but what I will say is thank you because this, for me at least, at the very least, was a very soul-enriching conversation.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
I appreciate you.
Thank you for being here. Where can people find you? Of course, we're in the show notes. We're going to say everywhere they can find you, but verbally, where can people harass you?
Look, we're really focused on growing Foundr Plus, which is our entrepreneurial membership specifically for e-com founders. So if you want to start or grow an e-commerce business, you can try us out. $1 14-day trial. Just go to Foundr, foundr.com/membership. We have so many incredible programs, 100 plus now. Phoenix teaches one of them on tracking, attribution, all the amazing things in a post iOS 14 world, how to be able to get your data back, feed Facebook correctly so you can go out and find more people to buy your products or services. So yeah, we'd love to help you go on that journey.
Yeah, I am a huge advocate for Foundr and Foundr Plus specifically. Like I said, like I am a user of it as well. I've been in the active communities for those of you who just need a community, the network that Nathan's been speaking to, like I have spoken to them. I have like a bunch of screenshots on my desktop from all the times that I've been able to speak to these people, and they are such good people. So if you want to join that community, I personally and AdBeacon recommends it. But that being said, Nathan, thank you for being on the podcast. It has been absolutely just an honor. And all right, guys, I hope to hear for you. I hope to see you guys on the next podcast episode. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks, guys. Till next week. Bye.